Welcome to the Roofing Business Growth Circle with Jacques Skuteeki, the go-to 15-minute power session for roofers who want more profit, better projects, and marketing that actually works. In each episode, you'll hear fast, practical ideas from real roofers and suppliers that can plug straight into your business and grow your bottom line. Now, get ready to level up your roofing business with your host, Jacques Skuteeki.
Today, we're getting into what actually breaks when the owner steps away. Because a lot of guys say they want freedom, but the reality is if they disappear for a week, things would fall apart pretty fast. Willard, why is that still so common? And today's episode is called the owner's dependency trap.
Otherwise known as what breaks when you're not there. Pretty much everything for most owners.
So when I ask roofers about taking a real vacation, most of them laugh. Why is stepping away still unrealistic for so many?
Each roofing owner is going to be having a different answer for that, but there's going to be some commonalities. They're the one who actually generates the sales. They're out there actually going to networking events. They're actually meeting with other people to get the leads to sell somebody. And then beyond that, they're the ones who are often responsible for closing the deals. They may have somebody that's working for them as a salesperson, but who's doing the estimates? Again, a lot of times the reason that the estimates are done correctly is because it's the owner that's doing them. Even when they've hired an estimator, sometimes they don't trust those estimates enough because it's their finances that are on the line if that estimate's wrong. So they've got the right people in place often, but, well, let me put it this way. They got the right people, but they might not have given them the right tools they need for those people to operate independently at what they do. And the owner is scared that if he steps away, if he goes out of the office for a vacation, things are going to turn into chaos.
So funny you bring this up about estimates. A lot of roofers are using these bid software systems. There's a lot of systems that you can buy. And one of my roofers said on Friday, says like, the last 3 jobs I've done, I'm noticing that I'm not making any money because garbage in, garbage out. Right, the bid system that they used, the lady that put the information in there, she forgot some stuff that you need to be able to to build that new roof, and that's where system comes in. That's where competency comes in. But like they're freaking out, like on a $25,000 roof, he's not even making $1,000 gross.
Yep.
So like in all the time and effort and energy, so competency is really, really, really important here. And when an owner disappears for a week, what usually breaks first?
I would say one of the biggest things that breaks first is what I refer to as the decision tree. You're turning over decisions to people in the office. And even though you may have a hierarchy of who's the office manager, who's the project manager, who is whatever, fill in the blank, that person's got to be confident that the decisions they're making are following the structure that you would normally follow when making those decisions. So things get chaotic when you come back and they go, well, I thought you would have, without knowing what you would have done. And that's because the owner has abdicated to people rather than, again, giving them the resources to train them so he could delegate to them in the correct way when he leaves.
You said owner involvement isn't leadership. It's often a bottleneck. What does that look like inside a roofing company?
Leadership is about creating more leaders. A lot of times what ends up happening is the person who's in the leadership role can't let go of things. It'll just get done faster if I do it myself. Or they're going to screw it up, so I might as well do it. The bottom line is they have not really taken and broken down the the process, for lack of a better term, that they're wanting to delegate to somebody, and clearly define what that process is. What is the outcome? What does the outcome look like when it's done? Why is it a priority? And what are the action steps to take to do this? They just go, well, Jacques, you've been doing this with me for 2 years. You know what to do. Go ahead and do it. And then when things seem to be going off path because it's not the way that I would do it, I got to step in and do it. That's where they become the bottleneck. They have not created a system that allows the process to be done without them stepping in and taking it back over. At least
So
that's
what?
bottlenecks.
So in this conversation, like, at what point can they feel that this is hurting their growth?
That's the problem. A lot of them don't recognize it's hurting their growth. They think they're the savior. They think the reason the company is solvent, the reason the company has money coming in is because they do step in and fix those things. And they don't realize that what they did to get them here is never going to get them here. They have to be able to change to be able to bridge that gap from where they are to where they ultimately want to be.
So if someone took inventory, what would reveal that company depends on to, like, what would they feel like, like if someone took the inventory with their businesses, how their business is running, what would reveal that the company depends too heavily on them, on the owner? How would the owner find out that, like, wow, I'm too much in control here?
Sure. Break your business down into almost like a diagram of a wheel, and think of 8 different vectors within that wheel. You're thinking of marketing. You're thinking of sales. Sales and marketing are 2 different things, and most companies don't separate them. Marketing, sales, income, your revenues. Think of your strategy. Think of HR. Think of operations. Think of legal. Okay. Think of time-life balance. Again, come up with these 8 different sections, and then grade yourself on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being this is a total mess, to 10, this operates great and I am not involved. That's the key part. I am not involved. Rank yourself, scale of 1 to 10, where is it? And do that for every section. Marketing, are you at 0 where it's not happening at all, or 10, it's happening and I am not involved? Rank it. Anything that is at a 6 or below, you are too involved in. And as you look at all of it and see how many of them that you are involved in, you start recognizing, where should I be involved in? You have to stop and take a look first. This is the problem with having a successful business. Business starts coming in. You have to keep all of these balls juggled in the air, and you never slow down to look at where are the bottlenecks, where are the problems, where are the things that could be improved, because you're constantly answering the phone and chasing the next deal. You have to have time to step back and observe your business rather than being in the middle of your business to be able to recognize those growth points.
So as a business owner that has this high level of dependency for his or her business to be successful, why is that scaring other buyers or other partners?
Well, think about it. And I'm saying this to you, but more to the people who are listening to this right now. If you had the opportunity to invest $250,000 in a business that was generating $5 million a year, it seems like a pretty decent ROI. But if the business operated completely on the dependency of the person you were giving that $250,000 to, how confident would you feel? If they get sick, if they get in a car accident, if something happens with their child that shifts their focus away from the business and onto their child's health or whatever's happening, how safe is your $250,000 investment? If you're thinking about buying that business, are you really buying a business, or do you have to actually employ the owner as well when you buy it, because the business won't run without them? This is where buyers and partners get scared. If they're looking at it intelligently, they're asking themselves, what is the risk of putting my money into this business? And if it's owner dependent, the risk is the owner.
And what does a roofing company look like when most of the decisions are not piled up on one person being the owner.
You know, it's a beautiful thing that most people don't get to experience. Numbers will tell the story. Your metrics, the things that you're paying attention to, you'll be able to say, okay, how many leads came in last month? Of those leads, how many initial conversations did we have with people? Out of those initial conversations, how many of those people were qualified? How many we moved to actually the transaction? How many did we close? You don't have to be the one that's chasing those sales and that revenue all the time. You're able to look, you're able to see where the strengths are, where the bottlenecks are, where the weaknesses are, and you're able to fix them without jumping in. You're able to go, you know what? Looks like our leads are a little bit low. We need to look at, are we really attracting the right clients? Are we marketing in the right places? Are we doing the right things? If the closing is the issue, I have one client, they had, God, like 137 leads that were coming in, and they're only closing 3% of them. I'm like, wow, what a waste of your marketing dollar if your salespeople are doing that bad at closing. We need to find out what's going on in the process. It allows you to operate your business strategically rather than, I don't even want to say intuitively, but by your gut. Okay, well, I think I should do this. And then you're chasing things that aren't real.
It's so funny that you're sharing this. I had a conversation during the week, and one of my roofers is saying, "Oh my God, we spend $10,000 a month on ads, and we're getting all these bids, and out of every 100 bids, like we are closing about 15 to 18% of them." Duh. This other business, this other roofing company in California. And when I speak with them, they close about 35 to 40% of every bid, which is at the high end. They're both very happy. They're both very satisfied. But then I always say leads fall through the cracks. Like you need to have a system to make sure that every lead is being nurtured. Yep. But it's funny that the 15, 18%, they're very happy with that, with $10,000 of ads. But this other company with about 35 to 40% of the bids they close, this guy is only spending about $2,000 to $5,000 a month in ads. So the cost of not having a system in place, whether it's automation, whether it's the process, whether it's the salesperson, or how you follow up, it's complex, right? There's a formula that you have to put in place. But the cost just of thinking that this other company can do it for $2,000 or $3,000 a month in ad. So right away, $5,000 a month times 12 months, that's already 5,000 times is $60,000 you're paying. Now that's from your net profits. You know how many roofs that you have to sell to make $60,000? And when you start having those conversations, then they start freaking out.
And what people don't realize, to increase those revenues is not as hard as people think. They focus on one part of that. Now, you've mentioned the customer journey. We talked a little bit that on a previous episode. An average customer journey has 9 touch points, 9 steps in it. And there's a part of the system that I talk about and teach. If you just improve each one of those steps by 10%, rather than generating 100 leads per month, you generate 110. Rather than having 50 conversations, a 50% conversion of lead to conversation, you make it 55. You increase each one of those steps, just improve each of them by 10%. By the time you get to the end of that 9-step process, you have increased your revenues by 100%. People tend to think that things are so much harder because they look at it like, this is an elephant that I've got to tackle. No, one bite at a time. Improve your messaging, improve the marketing, improve the number of leads that are coming in, improve the quality of your conversation, improve your qualification process. Just a little bit. It doesn't have to be like you're jumping over the Grand Canyon. But somebody that's happy at 15% close ratio is they've never experienced that before, and it's easy for them. They're just order takers. They get somebody who has the problem and, hey, they'll just give me a check. But if they learned how to have a little bit of a better conversation, they could bump that up to 17%, 18, 19%. And like you said, over a year, the financial impact of that is tremendous.
And how different is an owner's life when problems get solved without their phone, lighting up every 5 minutes?
They get to go back to what they thought business was going to be like. They get to go back to focusing on the future, the vision of what they want the company to become, not constrained by what the company currently is. They get to focus on strategy. They get to focus on networking and working and meeting with other business owners who are at this level. We talked earlier about being stuck here and how do they get to here? They get to spend that time learning from other people, learning from those other people's experiences that will help them transition from here to there with less risk, with more certainty. Look, business owners, they're supposed to be plotting the direction of the business. But if they're in that owner dependency spot, they're not focused on direction, they're focused on survival. So when you get to the place where the problems get solved without you having to be the one who solves them every 5 minutes, you get to do what you were supposed to do as the owner, and that is create the growth of the business and just impact your family, impact more of your employees' lives, your clients' lives, just grow the business.
But that requires a different mindset. And what's the first mindset they need to shift to believe that they can spend more time in networking, something maybe they hate to do, right? Or other activities that they're not used to do because they're so busy with the minutia every day. So how does that, where does it start? What's the first step for them to believe I need to change my mindset?
The first thing that I tell people is to recognize that what got you where you are is not going to get you where you want to go. I do goal setting sessions with people all the time, and they create these big, audacious goals for themselves of what they want to accomplish in the next 12 months, the next 3 years. And they lay it all out. Here's the revenue I want. Here's the number of employees I'm going to have. And here's the number of locations. And after they get all excited about it, I come in and I shoot down their dreams. I'm like, great. Now, let me give you the reality check. Those things that you just set as goals, the person you are now will never achieve them. Because if the person you are now was capable of achieving them, you would have achieved them already. You have to change to become the person who's capable of having that business. And that means you're going to have to let go of things that you have held on to for years that make your identity. This business, it depends on me. Can't, not to get to that point. You've got to let go of things and you've got to do things that you've never done before. What you did to get you here is not going to get you there. That's the first shift that they have to recognize.
Wow. Thank you. That's very, very insightful. So you, the business owner, if you can't step away without things just slipping through the cracks, that's a signal, not a failure. And once you see it, you can start fixing it. One shift at a time. You can build real independence into your business, and it's a step-by-step process. We are looking forward to have you on our other episodes so you can continue getting new ideas and have a new insight on how your business can grow tremendously over the next couple of months and over the next couple of years. And thank you so much for taking part of this episode. And thank you, Willard, for your insights.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
If you're serious about winning, don't stop here. Visit roofingbusinessgrowthcircle.com and unlock our resource vault featuring valuable free tools, guides, and resources from our guest speakers. Listen to more episodes of the podcast and book a Beat Your Competition strategy call with Jacques. Until next time, keep raising the bar in your roofing business.